Hey, it's me, Big P. I wanted to do a video here nearing the end of Sanctum League. There's like a couple hours left in the league, and I realized I put out basically no content regarding the league. So I thought, well, better time than, you know, a couple hours before it ends to go over Sanctum League and the builds I played through it. But just gonna open up each character real quick, do a map with it, and just kind of go over it. I'll mouse over the gear, and there'll be timestamps and POB descriptions in the description here. If you want to see, I mean, I'm going to kind of rate you them and like give them an idea of how I'm going to play it, whether or not I'd recommend playing them in next league. And then, yeah, what the plans are for next league. But before we start on that, I'm just going to go over my thoughts on Sanctum as a whole. This is a pretty well-received league, but I didn't really like it at all. I think the more I played it, the more I realized it kind of forced you into some builds. Some builds were very powerful for it. I thought it was, you know, it's another out-of-map league mechanic, which I'm not really fond of, especially considering, you know, it's kind of leaning towards mapping rather than bossing, and it kind of threw a wrench in that. It was kind of uncomfortable. So I actually wasn't that crazy about Sanctum. That being said, I did play a lot and a lot of different characters that were pretty good, except for one of them. So let's go over them in the order that I rolled them in. We'll kind of see, you know, the journey of the league and what happened. So we started with VAAL Blade Flurry Champion, basically just so that I could try it, because I had to know for myself. Blade Flurry was one of like the oldest like Reeve Blade Flurry combo, way back in like Harbinger or something. That was one of my old favorites, and I just wanted to see if we could do it with, I mean, we started with Impale at a league start. It wasn't really a good idea to do this at a league starter, honestly. It wasn't very safe, wasn't very strong. Just Impale with gear we found off. We did get our first 2 Watchstones with this build, but it was kind of painfully slow by the end of it. Generally speaking, I would not recommend it. Not to mention that a channeling attack skill without much reach is kind of garbage for Sanctum. It ended up being okay once we got, you know, I came back to it after I had made some money on the Magic Finder Farmer as my second build, and we threw stuff like the Savior and a Paradoxica, and I got a really nice Lore Weave and the Pandemonious and Corrupted Gloves and and that made it all just okay. This one's a lot of life and damage. We're just gonna do Alkengo or whatever. I think it's still set up for like my Breach like farming tree, but it's not really important. We're just gonna see in tier, most of these will probably run Crimson Temple unless I have some reason to not do that, but we'll see. But yeah, the playstyle, I will say, you know, for min-maxers, while Blade Flurry itself comes up very quickly, pay attention while I'm running here, this map, to the bottom right, the skills. Oh, I'm just gonna die here, aren't I? This one's tricky. Okay, and this guy's got that thing. I'm gonna try to not loot. It is worth noting I do have an inspired learning on this, so that was just to kind of make it a little bit more bearable. Something like a Headhunter would be good, because it is cold convert now that we have Hrimsaras. I kind of just went into, you know, scaling elemental damage, getting chill. I don't know, the damage is fantastic. Of course, we get a Voidborn Reliquary. You'll have to remember to open that near the end there. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, for mapping, you have to stand still on rares, and then even then, it's like kind of tricky. Let's give the map boss a bunch of armor. I mean, Whirling Blades, it's okay, and it is pretty tanky, but like not that tanky. I mean, I don't care how much max res I have. I still have less than 4k life on this build, so it can do a lot better. This thing is like exploding corpses or something. What the hell is going on here? See, even with like full stuff going on with the Savior reflections going off, it's not too good. Definitely doesn't have any like clear. I would think maybe if we could fit Herald of Ice into it or something. I don't know. The build just feels clunky, even with a lot of investment. Fun to try. Glad I tried it so that I can tell people to stay away from it, because VAAL Blade Flurry needs a lot of work. It's like it's in a weird spot because it feels like defensively, it gives a lot. Like it blinds people in an aura and makes you take less damage. So it's almost like more of like a defensive guard skill. And if you do just tap it once, you get some sort of whatchamacallit, like quick boost of damage. I think people who are expecting it to really boost damage are, you know, are kind of channeling it for the full duration, when you don't really do that in a situation where you need to clear out a bunch of enemies in a map. But even then, let's see if we can find a breach. Actually, I'll go back out. And as you can see, the single target damage isn't fantastic. Good enough for tier 16s, I guess, with, you know, more life and they're dealing extra damage. This is kind of a scary map, but you know, nothing fantastic. I really wanted to show, because I did end up starting to farm breach, which I might do again next league, and it just really has trouble. You know, it's a cone of damage that you have to aim. It's working now, but this was with a lot of investment, and it's not fantastic. Let's do a quick one there. So when, you know, when it does work and you get the crit or whatever, it's all right. VAAL Blade Flurry. Overall, I would not recommend it unless you just absolutely need to play the skill. And if you do, there's probably better ways to do it. I didn't really see, you know, when I came back to this build to try and pump some currency into it, I didn't really see many people playing it, and that's probably for a good reason. It's not really a thing. VAAL Blade Flurry will need a bit more work, I think. You know, melee is just in a tough spot. If anything, because this was so F tier for Sanctum, I guess maybe next league it'll be slightly better, but like you're already channeling the Crucible a bit, and then that empowers the monsters there. Yeah, we'll have I don't know, channeling just isn't it. There's the Inspired Learning. Kind of a wonky tree. I wouldn't really follow this or recommend the build overall. It's losing a lot of weird stuff like Mark Mastery, and yeah, while it was tanky and consistent, it was one of my slowest first two Watchstone skills, and I basically could not wait to get up onto the other. Let's just open this now. I could not wait to get onto my second build, something that I could run to farm maps, so much so that I'm going to do it as my starter build next league. Let's see. The unique tag. Some guy lost in the universe of PoE. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, very cool. So yeah, the next one I wanted to go into was, let's put these back. Yeah, Blade Flurry, fun to try. Definitely slowed my start a bit. I'm not going to make that mistake next league. We're going to go right into a Death Oath Magic Finder. Probably my, this is beyond A tier for me. This is S tier. The fact that you can get with such low investment up to the capability of farming just pure tier 16 content with altars, with completing the boss, kind of able to boss itself, not really. You know, if you don't mind kiting, I mean, as you can see, I have a very specifically geared for Magic Find. You know, this is a Cast on Death portal build before it is anything else, before it's Caustic Arrow, before it's Death's Oath. It's Cast on Death portal Magic Finder. We're gonna roll this from the ground up next league, so get subscribed if you want to see some setup for that. Basically, it's just quantity. What quant are we at right now? We're at 54 quant and 100 rarity. I have some godlike Venters. My bow and my quiver are terrible. I kind of just put it together and was too lazy to ever improve them, just because I had movement speed on these two, and that's really what I was focused on. This is really, maybe we'll do a Dunes, because this is really where I was doing my breach farming with, as well as Crimson Temples. You know, just it's the base of it. It can run a lot of different what is it, types of content, types of mapping content, really specifically. I think it's better, you know, as far as a mapper goes, to, you know, really just push into that, and then maybe with the currency you make from this, make a bosser of some kind, which we may need to. Crucible is seeming like it might have some things that you can't really get away with, 3k life and a Cast on Death portal, but for this, we'll see. Another one we are going to buy the breach on this one. Just because we're not getting it on the map device next league, I am going to miss it, but we are probably still going to try and run the breach. And yeah, let's just see. So generally speaking, if you're not hyped to it or aware with what's up, Death's Oath is fantastic, and VAAL Caustic Arrow has given it just a bit enough power to be able to kill tier 16 map bosses, which really helps for, you know, kind of open it up to a lot of different farming strategies. Here's a boss. We don't even have that much rolling. Let's see. We don't want to take a hit because we will die. Yeah, see, and it's so breaches are going to be a little bit different next league. And I kind of just want to roll this again because this was, I played this. Oh, I forgot to do plate for the first one. I played this a lot. This was my most played. Whenever I had to map, I would only swap to my other characters when I needed to do a boss, or maybe try and do a Sanctum. This wasn't fantastic for Sanctum, but for just chilling, whether it's just low tier Alkengo, high tier Alkengo, or more distinct, I was doing some sort of strat with growing hordes, and you kind of have flexibility, especially with the new Atlas gateways, to kind of do whatever farming strat you want. I picked Breach, and I'm going to pick it again, just in terms of, like, the Breach stones themselves were just, like, okay, like, fun to have if I wanted to get some experience, level up another character quickly, you know, that sort of thing. Not huge amounts of money. Most of the money was just like raw currency from the... Okay, let me just get off screen there. There's an example of, you know, the floor of this build, because it is a cast on the portal build with nothing. It's pretty... I don't know. Not much to say. I guess maybe we won't be using Molten Shell next league. I still think it might actually be best for us, though. I don't know. Maybe we'll try a bit of, like, Steel Skin or something like that instead. And here's the boss. It's not fantastic. You know, you're not like two-shotting it or anything. It does have increased attack and cast speed. Ooh, I'm supposed to read that with the flame dash and do it that way, but there you go. And that was without VAAL Caustic Arrow. With VAAL Caustic Arrow as well as a normal Caustic Arrow. And again, my setup actually isn't great. It's better to get more coverage. This is without an extra proj. We can either get an extra proj on the tree next league, or we can get Arrow Nova support. I was looking into that, and I think Ali, she's a really good content creator, had I stole a bunch of stuff for that from her Death Soth Caustic Arrow build. Hers is more for like actual gaming and farming. Mine is definitely, you know, you have to be okay with dying a bit. I'm actually going to do, after this video, a full video on like a primer for magic finding in the next league, just because this is what I really kind of focused on and fell in love with in terms of just farming for decent currency here and there. Yeah, it's really great. I feel the play style is super straightforward. It's got a nice kind of duality where the Death Soth will take care of anything that's surrounding you that maybe causes an instant threat, those white and blue mobs and maps that like to kind of gang up on you and sort of do a bunch of small hits that get you killed, which will happen, you know, if you're going to build it in this way. Pretty much the quiver and the helmet are the only places where I'm getting any sort of significant life. They're terribly crafted. My bow could be a lot better. You can do the deterministic +3 levels of bow gems, or you know, there's a couple ways to deterministically craft something much better than this. So then that would also boost the Death Soth as well. You know, awakened gems and things like that. I did have a level 3 in power. I think a level 4 enlightened somewhere here. No, this was just a level 3 enlightened here. But yeah, I'm gonna try and put something similar together. I might, some of the quantity pieces, I might try the ascetic, or what was the other one? Eyes of the Great Wolf with like a 20% it can roll pretty high, but those are probably pretty expensive and tricky, especially one with like quant and cold dot. It's really best to just get a Spine Fuse Talisman. And yeah, I mean, there's way better Death Soth. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'd highly recommend this build. You know, I think it's interesting that you can kind of build it both as, you know, the way I have it, where it's all the way tuned for mapping itself, and then you can also just have like a generic, you know, just all-around build guide that can do stuff. But again, get subscribed, because the next video that comes up is going to be a primer on this, and then actually we'll have a full league start prep guide coming out on, I guess, tomorrow. That'd be Wednesday. And then Thursday, I think I'm going to do a stream of just leveling, just a practice leveling to get into maps, while we'll level with Bane and Essence Drain to get ready for, obviously we're not going to start with a Death Soth, and I think leveling with Caustic Arrow or Poisonous Concoction, I don't know, I don't really like it. I think Bane might be a little bit more safe, maybe just slightly better for bossing in a way, to get me my first 2 Watchstones, check the Atlas out and see what's good for farming. But yeah, not fantastic for Sanctum, so you know, it's not going to lose a lot. We do have another in-map league coming, so even if they don't really scale with quant, the drops, I think they might, they should. I don't understand why they wouldn't. You know, it's still just going to be something we can get in there. Maybe not juice it as much as some of the other more robust and tanky builds, but you know, as long as we can clear it on tier 14, 15, 16, or we can do altar farming alongside whatever other strat we're going to do, it's going to be cool. So yeah, this is my most recommended. 2 thumbs up. Run Death Soth if you haven't tried it before. If you want to make a bunch of bank and like don't mind a more specialized focused build, build it for Magic Find, you'll make a lot of cash. Otherwise, you can follow. I'll link Ali's guide. It's way good. I just watched it and tweaked my POB accordingly. And then next, after I'd rolled this and made a decent bit of money, kind of wanted to try something that I hadn't tried before. I'd heard of it, and that would be the Blade Trap Trickster here. Long story short, it's basically Ephemeral Edge makes it so that scaling your flat ES becomes lightning damage on your Blade Trap. And what Blade Trap lacks in reach, because it's only like kind of a small area of effect that needs to be triggered, it more than makes up for in like burst damage. It's a very solid bosser, as well as being functional for maps where you can kind of run through maps and be very tanky. As you can see, not only am I 95, which I don't normally get. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to leveling builds, particularly because I just run maps and like don't really care. Like I'll take a death here and get pissed off, but I'm almost up to 96 on this build just because it is really that tanky. We're like suppress capped, we have 10k plus ES, and you know, I was kind of following some inspiration on PoE Ninja, but the gear is pretty solid. It might be about a dozen divine all the way up to like 100 divine, depending on how well you can craft. Again, POBs will be in the description for this. And I would also recommend this, so much so that I might actually even roll it again myself, just because it might actually be really solid for the league mechanic. Let's roll breach or whatever. It's not great for doing breaches, just because, you know, if you compare like the way that Death's Oath works to like Blade Trap, you need to throw a trap and that trap needs to be triggered before it starts doing damage, whereas Death's Oath is just doing damage. And then, I mean, compared to VAAL Blade Flurry, you're channeling, so you can, but like, I don't know, you'll see. The playstyle is very just straightforward. You don't really need to worry about I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's working regarding mitigating physical hits. It doesn't seem like it should be that good. Maybe it's just the raw amount of ES that you're working with here that really just kind of translates to, you know, just tankiness, effective tankiness in maps. There's a lot of trickster stuff going on here with recovery and spell sup and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite nice, very comfy in maps. Kind of shreds through even some of the bigger stuff here, and you know, with the 100% spell sup and a 50% chance to start up your energy shield recharge, like, I mean, we can kind of just stand here and we're really tank. I don't know what's going on. There we go. That took a while. You have a bear trap to increase damage taken, but it's almost not really necessary. I mean, like, let's throw like 3 traps there. They're rotating. I do have the helm enchant where it rotates an additional time, but yeah, you boost a lot. The more trap throwing speed you get, the smoother it is. This just felt really fun to just put together, kind of just craft whatever I couldn't find with essences, or whatever I couldn't craft myself with essences. You just go on the if you're lazy, you can just go on the trade site and sort by flat ES rolls and just buy that up. I think I self-crafted my chest piece and maybe my gloves and bought like a shield or boots or well, Sintrek, corrupted Sintrek I got. I bought those. That would probably be, there's probably, you know, I again wasn't super crazy crafter. I never really am. You can take a look for yourself and judge on the POB how good the gear is. I think there's some room for improvement, but I mean, it's just the first time I've just really got to raw 10k ES off this game. And yeah, the playstyle, it's very straightforward. I mean, I have a lot of buttons here. You have Vortex on left click and Flame Dash and Whirling Blades, just because in some boss fights, you know, just Flame Dash doesn't feel like enough. Whirling Blades is good. This one's Possessed, so we'll do Arcanist Brand, which does Wave of Conviction. Bear Trap slows them down because, as you can see, more mobile bosses, or you might actually have some issues. And just generally speaking, you know, it doesn't have that much reach or coverage. You can off-screen stuff technically, but it's you wait for the trap to land and then it to get triggered, and then there is a delay of damage. Luckily, the build is more than tanky enough to you know, deal with that delayed damage, and it'll be fine. It's not great for these breaches. It is CI, so chaos damage, you know, this is my second build that kind of just really dealt with chaos damage quite nicely. Yeah, it was super comfy to play. If you like something a little bit on the tankier side and want to do some bossing, cannot recommend this enough. I did everything except I didn't try too many Ubers, because I think like it's still not as good as some of like the totem stuff that just like one hit. There's nothing better than just like one hitting stuff, and this does take like a little bit of mechanics, a little bit of like setup like Bear Trap, Arcanist Brand, and then you can set up to your max number of traps. And even then, you know, it kind of sucks when the boss just like moves out of the damage that's being done, but you know, it does whatchamacallit, reward smart play, and you know, it's very reactive gameplay. It's kind of fun to play, and I cannot recommend it enough, because all you really need, there's probably a way to, I leveled it, and pretty much as soon as I could swap to Ephemeral Edge, I just started throwing on ES gear, just so that I could get it to the point is that now, again, there'll be a POV in the description of all of these, so go over it. You're basically, I threw, I think, essences at this, where I just got super lucky on some of this, like, I got tier 1 ES and like conductivity on hit, we take that. ES, just ES everywhere. Everything else we could, you know, like discipline aura effect, just like a lot of little stuff like that. Here we got some suppress and trap throwing speed. You could go for double ephemeral edges, but I don't think that's as good as just going for, you know, a big, I got +3 lightning res on this, and you know, it's a lot of ES. It's over qualityed, so you know, between that, the physical damage max hit isn't great, but it's got a lot of evasion. You just got a lot of cool evasion stuff. We're using stuff like split personality, which I don't really see that many people using. It might actually be incorrect. And then just elemental damage scaling, trap scaling, and ES stuff like Ghost Dance for Trickster, Swift Killer, Polymath. Oh no, we're not using Polymath. Spellbreaker, Escape Artist, One Step Ahead, and Swift Code. We might actually be able to get away from One Step Ahead and go into Polymath for more damage. I'm not sure if it would really be worth it at this point, but again, I had plenty of damage. I wasn't really wanting for it. The smoothness and the speed, you know, I kind of value that a little bit more. But yeah, I highly recommend this as well. Try it out. I don't know if I'd put out a full build. I mean, you can ask in you know, chat or in the comments here. I will again have the POV, just a setup of what I do have right here, if you want to have that as a reference. And yeah, that kind of rounded it out. This was my bosser, and I had my mapper. I'd swap to my bosser if like the tier 16 map boss was on Consecrated Ground, or if I wanted to farm stuff like did all my invitations on this. And yeah, it's pretty much one of the better bosses I've done. If I had to do it again, I might look into just a more traditional blade trap scaling. I might not try and do, although I don't know, the ES for Trickster, it worked really well. Maybe there's another way to do blade trap, but it just felt like a very like classic sort of scaling, where it's just like ES will become not only defense but offense, which is always pretty fun to try out. And nothing great. Yeah, shitty relics. I didn't drop any good relics. Pretty much on any, no like build enabling stuff. Another reason why I wasn't crazy about Sanctum. But anyway, let's keep going and check the last build. And then this was the Spark Inquisitor that I ran for BPL, and then as soon as I got back into League, I basically just tried to scale damage with Annihilating Light as much as I could. I've never done an Annihilating Light build before, and it's okay. I mean, it's like a very specific way you have to build. I tried to make this build so that I could kind of just like one-tap stuff in Sanctum, which kind of worked out, but like not really. I don't want minus res. That's fine. We're gonna die in this. This is just one of the squishier builds. I'm really not running any of this like obvious stuff like Corrupted Soul that I should be running on here, because I am actually running Pain Attunement. Because we're running some Leech, and we're only fire risk capped when our Dying Sun is up. Like, I don't know, this build is kind of a mess. Don't follow this. There's much more consistent ways to enable Annihilating Light. I basically, as soon as this transferred from the BPL, I just kind of threw whatever I had at it, bought some stuff like an Annihilating Light, and I mean, Spark's getting nerfed next league anyway, so this might not be the way to go. There you can see kind of an effective hit pool being showcased. It's not much. And it's certainly, you know, when you get to like scaling up with, what is it, the altars for the Eater and the Exarch, kind of nerve-wracking. Definitely, we're losing prod speed on Spark. We're losing Onslaught on Orb of Storms. This build's in kind of a weird place. I think Spark will be okay, just because it's like, it's a very iconic and classic PoE skill that has a lot of good scaling options. But I don't know. I personally, I don't know. I do like Spark. I just don't like how inconsistent it can feel. Like on the indoor maps like this shit rips. It's great. But then on the outdoor maps, you can really kind of just feel like you're just chucking stuff at nothing. And even stuff like Crackling Lance, I kind of would prefer over that when it comes to it. But yeah, Spark's pretty good. Another build that I have, whatchamacallit on, Inspired Learning, just because I wanted to make it more doable in maps, kind of get some ramp. You know, Spark does well with that sort of stuff. Whatever, we don't need to loot. Overall, yeah, Spark, kind of in a weird spot. Play it if you want. Annihilating Light seems cool. There's probably way better or more consistent ways to get it done. This was supposed to be better and like as a Sanctum runner, something that can like two-shot guards and stuff like that. And Sanctum was mostly indoors and was easiest when you could just trivialize it by doing a lot of damage. I don't know if this really cut it though. I kind of was a bit lazy putting it together, so you know, if you go over this POV, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know if I generally recommend Spark. At this point, it's a little untested, but I mean, again, I think it should be okay. Might take a little bit more investment. Ooh, see, there we go. I think maybe if you ran Corrupted Soul, this could be okay. I feel like we're kind of just getting lucky. And Inquisitor has pretty decent regen, and single target's pretty solid, especially once you get to like actually freezing stuff. I mean, like that's pretty nice. But you know, this, keep in mind, this is another one sort of like the Death's Oath Magic Finder that is a soft core type build. My effective hit pool is probably terrible. Doesn't matter that we're running Petrified Blood or anything like that. Fully converting the spark, well, not fully converting, mostly converting the spark damage to cold. Spark, Inspiration, crit damage, Pinpoint is good, Spell Echo, you know, just get a lot of sparks on the screen, it just makes sense. And then Annihilating Light makes it so that you're running stuff like Purity of Elements as your damage aura, just so that you can get, you know, res caps, kind of. The fire res without the Dying Sun is not there, so again, janky. Don't really follow this one. Don't really recommend Spark going into the next league, but overall it's pretty fun to play. Definitely BPL was cool, but not really sure if Spark is the play for Annihilating Light, or if Annihilating Light is even really that good. I don't think people... It's if you have a huge budget that can offset the downside, then yeah, it can be pretty solid. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was an alright build. It's Inquisitor, you know, Inquisitor can make a lot of stuff work. And I do one every league. Would I recommend this for a league start? Probably. Still, yes, it'd be okay. But I don't know, you'd have to invest a little bit more to get to the same point. And like I said, the inconsistencies of Spark kind of made it feel a little weird. And some, you know, if you get like, I had a full map tab full of Crimson Temples, or if you have like an indoor map tile set or something like that, where, you know, Spark is really solid for you, you know, go ahead and try that out. But for me, I didn't play this that much. I think the Blade Trapper, I did a lot of playing on, because it's a pretty solid build. Not even that much, but I did get more progress done with this than most other builds, just because it was just very consistent. And yeah, that's basically it. That was Sanctum. Sanctum was cool. I farmed 35 challenges and played a lot, despite not liking the league mechanic. I think the game is in a really fun and intriguing place where even me, I've been playing for years. You know, just the dopamine of running like the Magic Finder farmer. And getting, you know, a bunch of strats, trying out a bunch of strat. I tried some Breach, tried a little bit of Ritual, and then just kind of focused on farming challenges. And for the Death's Oath was really the best one for that. Just overall felt kind of cool. And yeah, I didn't really go into depth for each of this one. That's because this video is already going to be half an hour long, going over everything. All in all, done with Sanctum. Ready for Crucible. If you're ready for content, get subbed. I'm going to go over in more detail later today, or maybe tomorrow. I'm going to upload a video as like a full primer on Magic Find, specifically with the Death's Oath Occultist. If you want some more information on that, or just some ideas of what you can run as farming strategies, we'll go over the build guide, why I think it's effectively retired all other Magic Finders for me, and then why I'm going to run it as my starter next league, just because I want to get into mapping as soon as I can with this beautiful, beautiful Death's Oath Occultist. It's so fun to play, and I'm actually going to invest in the Magic Find variant so that I have a decent bow and a respectable quiver and a lot of other stuff, so it's gonna be fun. We'll go over that, and then on maybe, I don't know, at some point, you know, stuff's going to come. Updates might be in league happening as they, you know, end of the first weekend. I'm looking to get by the first weekend the magic finder set up, my first 2 watchstones, if not all 4 watchstones, and start building up a map pool. See, I think we're gonna do Breach on the beach or something like that. But anyway, let me know what you ran for Sanctum, what you thought about it. I thought it was very limiting and kind of stringent on what builds would be successful, and that's kind of why overall I wasn't crazy about it, because I kind of, even when I did do some more stuff like Bleed Trap or, you know, high damage Spark that was supposed to do it, still didn't, I don't know, just didn't click for me. Looking forward to next league where we'll get a lot of more interesting stuff, an in-league Mac mechanic with just a crazy ceiling for weapons. Like, who knows, like, you know, how good the Death's Oath bow can get, or how good, you know, if you get the unique Crucible stuff for your ephemeral edge, like what can be on there. Probably not enough to make Ball Blade for it work though. But anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what else you want to see, what you did, and content's coming. We're a couple days away from Crucible, so I'll see you then. Bye bye.